It's the Daybreak Africa, if you just tuned in. And this morning in the house we have Kehinde Emmanuel as we discuss the Oronsaye report, the implementation of the policy involving the merging, assuming and scraping of agency with similar functions. Good morning and welcome on Daybreak.
Yeah, good morning once again.
Good morning to
Thank you so much.
All right, going straight to the discourse of today, the Oronsaye report, which was firstly submitted to the Goodluck administration year 2012. Now, that same year, that same year which it was submitted, nothing was done on it. So, year 2014, the Goodluck administration brought out a paper like, okay, we are going to implement whatever. The Buhari administration also did the same, 2022, but nothing has been done so far. Now, this new administration say they want to do something on it. They want to bring it to full implementation. Now, looking at the Oronsaye report itself, I want to know your take on that report. And also, why are we looking into it as at this moment?
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Yes, based on the report, I think the subject of this Oronsaye report has been all right in the politics for a while. People have been talking about it. People have been raising discussions about it, as to why it should be done. There have been many write-ups as regards that. What was because as a country, I think we have, as at that time, we have about 263 parastatals and agencies, right, which many of them have overlapping functions, right, so that even the average Nigerian citizen try to think that why do we need to create this one when there's already somebody doing that same thing, but now we change the uniforms, all right. So, but then the question is that the purpose of trying to work on that report or the implementation now is to see that we are able to cut down the cost of governance. Now, apart from just cutting down the cost of governance, another thing we are going to also be doing is also to see that it also allows for the evolution of powers, right, in certain areas. Another thing also is the place of trying to also ensure efficiency, all right, of let me say some of those parastatals, because some of them have been independent, all right, to just stay alone. And I think also one of the things in the report is the place of the commercialization of certain agencies, in which some of these agencies are financially driven, all right, to see that maybe they get, maybe people have to pay an amount of money to get some things done through those agencies. So now, instead of them trying to rely on the federal government to fund them, that they could have a commercial outlook where they are self-funded, all right. So the challenge with the report from 2012 till date is not just the white paper implementation aspect of it. It is that the government must have the willpower to commit to the implementation. If not, it will just be like they will keep saying that same thing. Now, most advocates of politics are focused on that report because, truly speaking, when you go through that report, it's an 800 pages report, which really embrace the concept of what do you call it now, what these people are trying to advocate, that we should restructuring. So that is when you even look at those reports, so truly it will also help us to that. So instead of we talking about restructuring, that report itself, all right, already will help us as a country to put certain structures in place across boards.
The funny thing about this proposal for me is we have a proposal as this that has lasted in the hands of the government for over a decade now. Now it simply means we have an opportunity to actually cut down costs 12 years ago, but we didn't do that. So what's the point of trying to cut down with costs? Now, don't you think this government has they know what to do, but they tend not to do it? Because if we actually have that opportunity 12 years ago, and we did what needed to be done 12 years ago, we probably would not have been suffering the way we are now as a nation. Now, don't you think this government tends to know the right thing to do, but somehow just withheld themselves from doing it?
Yeah, that's why I am of the opinion, personally, that what defines you as a leader, for me, is not the promises that you want to do. For me, I've never been cajoled by you trying to come on stage to say this is what you want to do. Because when you step into the arena, you realize that whatever you saw from outside is different from what it is when you get inside. So, but then what now makes you different from others is that you must have audacity to put something. That's why if you see the likes of Okonjo, where people talk about political will, you hear that word very current, but because even the issue of the subsidy should have been way gone. It's not now, but because those people in government at that time do not have that political will. What is the political will that they are talking about? It's audacity. The audacity to get it done when you know that it is at the best interest of the major populace. Because if you know very well that if the very few elites, all right, will benefit from this thing, but now you must know that they will also try their best to also incite sentiments. They will try to fund certain rallies, certain protests. They might not even go as far as trying to ensure that there's a place of instability because they want to fight back. I must let you know that nobody will most likely sit down when they know that they are getting something beneficial from something like that. But then you must have the political way to put that, because you are looking at the major populace of the country and you want to get things done for Nigeria. You must decide. And for me, looking at this current administration now, an administration that came on board on the very first day and said subsidy is gone, is the same government, I think, to a degree, has the audacity to implement it. Now, when I went through the report now, you see, I saw one on trypanosomiasis. I saw varying agencies. I'm like, really, do we really need all these things truly? But now, you must know that all those agencies have a number of people that have been employed.
Of course.
Abi? Now, all those parastatals and agencies also have a budget that they are also going to work with. And all those things, whether it is the overhead cost or maybe the recurrent now, which is the salary and whatever of the civil servant. Now, for us to have a bit of a restructuring and monitoring, is the need for us to put some of those things in their proper placement. And truly, there are some that have three that have to collapse together. So, I go to that report of the Oronsaye, as at that time, 263 had to reduce down to 161. Now, if you look at the implication is that, and the difference, the implication now is that it's going to reduce the cost of governance to a degree.
All right, now looking at the whole thing going on as at this moment on the Oronsaye report, an 8-man committee has been set, and also a deadline has been given to them, 12 weeks. Now, on paper, possibly it might look fair enough, but now 800 pages of work is very cumbersome. For them to be able to do a lot of things demands time and a lot of things. Now, looking at the efficiency of what this can really bring to the table economic-wise, because we're looking at the cost cutting of everything, we are trying to save money and be able to work efficiently in some other parastatals. Now, looking at all this put together, do you think the time frame is enough? And as at this moment, do you really see anything positive coming out from this, especially looking at how the kind of money that can possibly be generated for other things to be done?
First, I'm quite positive that they will get some things done. But then my challenge will now be the number of weeks given to them, because 12 weeks might likely not be more visible. But then I know it's always good that we try to give ourselves timelines, because those things are very important to you in government. Because if you don't give yourself timelines, you can just but then in the mind of the president, for instance, might likely be looking at 16 weeks. But then let me give them 12 weeks, for instance, and let's see how they can push to them. I can say, okay, now I'm giving you 2 more weeks again, because you must understand that in all this that report, it will require the National Assembly to also do some works. Right, you will need certain repealing of certain clauses, all right, from some parastatals, adding it to some other parastatals. I don't know if you get it now, because there are some that are established by the National Assembly. There are some that were established by an act. All right, so those things will need a National Assembly review, all right, in some of those areas. So now the House of Assembly, National Assembly now will require, they will have to be having meetings, all right, plenary sessions now to raise or to discuss some of these things, because it's not something that we can just say and it becomes it, because it was established by law. Then it must go back for a review again. So it is for instance now I think NACA, which is on control of AIDS, right, is now been sent now to be subsumed under NCDC, which is disease control. Yes. All right. So now there's an act that established NACA. Right? So there's a need for us to make provision for that NACA in NCDC. I don't know if you get me now. So if there's a need for them to now say, okay, we want to scrap this one now, then this one is now, this one stands as the law that governs both NACA and everything. There are some that were they are training institutes, so they have been carved to be faculties under the Nigerian Defense Academy. Now they have to, the implication is that the staff might likely still remain, but now the structure of the operation now will change, because now maybe it's going to be the vice chancellor, or for instance, I'm just saying quote and unquote now, or the director or somebody, or the director general, then coordinate the affair. Now instead of having a director for the institute, we're going to only have one single director over it. I don't know if you get me now. So now the boards that were appointed now, the people that might likely suffer some of these hits are those who are the boards, who are appointed as the boards of those parastatals and agencies. Those ones, and those ones come by appointment. Right? So those ones will have to go. There's an amount of money that they are paid.
Now, I'm sorry to cut you. Now, cost cutting. I want to understand a lot of things now. You said, as you just said this moment, the last statement you made, you said some of those workers might still remain, but they will have to operate on a different umbrella.
Yes.
Now, they have to create another, let's say maybe another law for them, for things to work, some code of conduct for them to work. Now, if those workers are still going to remain, now we are going to look at it on the two side, is a two-coin side. If the workers are still going to remain, how do we get the cost-cutting effectiveness into this situation? Because you are still paying them, they are still operating, just that the names might be different, the parastatals might be cut down, but the operations are still going. Definitely, you are still going to be getting them funds for them to operate. Now, if those workers do not remain, you are pushing a lot of people into the market, job, let me say unemployment. These two, how are we going to make it work? As at this moment, cost-cutting effectiveness, and also if you are trying to cost cut and you say, okay, we want some workers to be left out, some of them should go out, we want those that are just good to be able to be functioning, some people will have to go. The unemployment that you are causing in the market. So how do you analyze this too?
Yes, when I read up on it, that was my first concern also, that because there's a degree of unemployment already in the country, right? So trying to say, when we do some of those things, some of those things might likely require we laying some people, right? I mean, we have to lay off some members of staff. But then when I checked up on some of the read-ups and comments from some of the government ex handles, all right, to let you know that the government is not trying to work also on it to see that we don't push people out of we don't lay people off, right? But then that's why I said that more of the focus will be on the overhead cost, because you must understand that for every of those institutions they have their budget for the year 2024 now, where they want to procure cars, they want to procure this and that. Now the overhead cost, is high already on that side. But then when they come into, for instance, for some of them that like Code of Conduct Bureau, ICPC, EFCC are going to become one. Now, every of those parastatals have the board that are appointed. Right, those ones go. Every of those parastatals have talked about what they want to really procure and so on. But then it's become a central one single body. Just for instance, like trying to merge 3 institutions to become one. The implication now is that you are going to only have one vice chancellor, you are going to have only one DVC, 2 DVCs, all right, even though you are collapsing 3. So, but know that there are certain people that are likely, some of the entitlement, the allowances that come to some people, they have to go. I don't know if you get me now. So the overhead cost will most likely be the one that will most likely reduce. Now there are some, how would they now do this? For instance, JAMB in itself, gave a report last year based on the money that they returned back to, they gave back to the federal government, like, okay, having spent our money stuff for 2023, this is the amount that remained, all right? And they even declared that they can be self-funded, that is, they in themselves can fund themselves, that is, the federal government need not fund JAMB. When you look at some of those parastatals also too in this same manner, based on this original report, that can also stand like JAMB and can be self-funded, you realize that most of their requests will now become their responsibility and not the responsibility of the federal government. So by that, the staff are not going anywhere, the staff are retained, but then the institution has developed a framework to see that we can do everything within ourselves based on the money that comes in from our own organization.
So it's supposed to be on the situation of IGR situation.
Exactly. Now, for instance, I think the one of them is the ITF now, because you must realize that for ITF now, students who are going for sideways and stuff like that, they should be able to pay those stipends for some of those students. Right? So the federal government is saying that you should be able to do that yourself if the money comes to you. So we must give a commercial outlook for some of those things, that you should be self-funded. JAMB, NECO, WAEC should be able to, fund their operations from the money that they are, because at the long of the day, you realize that they only return a particular amount of money to the coffers of the federal government. So if you can, even, let me say for instance, it was when this JAMB registrar, the current one that came on board, that we even knew that there's a lot of money that is with JAMB, unlike the predecessor where we do not have much money returned back to the federal government. Right? But now with this person now, he even said it himself that we don't think we need to be funded, that they should excuse them. So let you know that they are telling you that we have what it takes, all right, whether to recruit staff, because when they are, what you are trying to do is that you now allow some of those parastatals to now work within their means. So if I look at it and look at my voted and I look at the money that come in, you will not talk about employing 1 million staffs when you know that there is nobody that is going to come and help you. You are the only one that will fund the whole payment
of these people. So it also helps us in so many ways if all is implemented.
But if we still look at this situation, it's still going to tell on the poor masses. It's still going to tell a lot on people which are employed, because I'm trying to understand cost cutting. Cost cutting, he said the overhead, the people at the top. Of course, I understand that they are going to have just one head. I understand some allocation coming to them are going to be reduced. I understand that. But what is the effectiveness of, and how much is going to be taken away from them? Especially, the only thing I think I've seen so far on what you said is just for them to say, okay, we are going to be able to fund ourselves. But talking about cost cutting on the part of government, how does it really work?
Yeah, I think we are both saying the same thing, because when we do that, now when we talk about the implication on the people, the implication is that you have allowed the government to save up, all right, instead of dispensing money. For instance, the removal of the subsidy now has allowed for some states to be able to get to a 74% increase in their monthly FAR. For instance, both Ondo, Lagos, Anambra receive 74%. Ondo has a degree of increase. Right, let me say now that the forex backlog that Cardozo is trying to clear up, the money is not that maybe we are burning the money. That is, we have been able to save us some money to do some of those things. The approval for the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway, supersonic highway, that was approved £1 trillion. Where did that come from? Because of the save up of the subsidy. Now we have $34 billion in our reserves now, right? Now, to let you know that they were able to save $2 billion again. To let you know that with all of these things, when we try to cut some of those things, the money now goes into social infrastructure, or that it goes to, I'm looking at what VTO is doing also with the response with the international passport that people are commending now, to say that it's quite very fast. Within 2 days, you get your approval. Now, but the money comes from where? The money comes from the FG. But then, also all this money that we're trying to block all these loopholes now, we're trying to say that those money is now able to do something better for the populace. Instead of we focusing on those things, by this, it will even help us to do much more. As of today now, by March, the gas pipeline that Buhari started in 2016 will be completed by March. Now, I mean, and it has to be funded, all right? So, but then, so some of these things at the long run, we'll see that, well, at the short run, I likely feel certain pain like what we are going through now. But in a matter of time, it will surely help us to fund certain other areas that will benefit the masses.
It's beautiful, hearing the sound of cutting down of cost in Nigeria. It's more like that's the word everybody wants to hear, citizen, cutting down of cost. And I guess the point Michael is trying to actually point out in little words is that it's more like this cutting down of cost is rather being too demanding on citizens and not on the government. In the sense where, how is the presidency cutting down cost? How are lawmakers cutting down cost? Their cost. The National Assembly, how are they cutting down cost? Now, budgetary, how are we cutting down costs? You saw our recent budget for 2024. You could, there are so many things one could really want to. Do we really need this? Where is this one going into? Where are we getting this from? How are we cutting down such costs? Just recently, we spoke about 12 billion, for National Library or so. At this point, in this era, do we need that right now? So how are the government themselves cutting down costs? It's beautiful, trying to, merge parastatals and, do those things where they are doing. And of course, you will agree with me for a fact. I know you try to probably defend the government at this point. I don't know if that's what you're doing. I'm trying to say they probably may not be exactly layoffs, but trust me, they will be layoff. At least they will be layoff.
Yeah, in the majority, some people.
Yeah. Definitely, there will be layoffs. So if we are actually laying off citizens, in this verge of food insecurity, unemployment already on the horizon, and then we are having laying off, how are the government themselves cutting down costs? Is the question.
Okay, so let me start with the issue of the laying off. Also, I think it also help those parastatals to do maybe staff auditing. We have still cases of where people they're out of the country, some of these parastatals, and they're still collecting the salary here in Nigeria, but then they're home. Right, so maybe it will also help some of those agencies also to go inward, right, and say how we can also flush out maybe the ghost workers amongst us. But now when you talk about the ghost the cutting down of cost of government, you must realize that also that some of these parastatals also are within the purview maybe of the SGF, the purview of the presidency, the office of the chief of staff, some of those, and the Ministry of Finance. Some of them have been subsumed to be under Ministry of Works, Ministry of Finance. There are provisions for that. But now, when you talk about the issue of the National Library, is this something that we really need now? For me personally, the subject of maybe trying to say we want to build a national library I don't know whether they want to build a new one now or whether they want to
renovate.
All right, but then that's why I said that the complexity of our constitution also allows certain issues to still fly. For instance, now the presidency doesn't have power over the finances of the National Assembly. All right, so now it's difficult. It's difficult for you to say you want to really when it's not a military regime, you cannot really push through because they have their own way of doing things. All right, but then what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to the cutting cost of governance, so they have also made certain policies as regards the number of people that follows them to travel.
For an administration that has about 50 ministries, does this look like an administration that's actually willing to cut down costs?
You know, the ministry itself doesn't. It's not really the issue now because because some of those agencies, I mean, if you say you have just 40 ministries in Nigeria, there are other countries who surely have more than 40 ministers, and they're not.
Maybe they do need that, but I don't think we need such.
There's none of those
considering our present situation.
There are none of those. Funny enough, it's possible to even create more ministries, but they are not. The number of ministries that you have yet, I'm not sure. Because this is that the complexity of. I mean, we have a country of 200 and something million people, and you're talking about 40 ministries. But the gist is that the problems you want to solve, all right, might likely be able to still allow you to also spread. Now, for instance, now there are emerging issues coming up, and that's why the place of marine economy, the marine and blue economy, had to come into place. There was nothing like that before. All right, so there are certain things that might likely emerge. All right, that might likely allow you to say you want to create new ministries. So, but then, for instance, now we have the Bosun Tijani ministry now, and we see what they are doing and how they are trying to work with the relevant parastatals to see that they are next using technology. Now, because that is the way the future is going tech driven now, and then we must also not say because we want to help the poor at the same time say you are beginning to be outdated out of what the reality of the global space, because we are going to be interacting with the global space. So we need to do now. For instance, something happened. Is it the issue of the tourism program? And I saw a cubicle for I think for mines and whatever ministry for Sierra Leone. The booth was okay. Now Nigeria was just a chair and stuff like that, and people were trying to drag them to say, oh, why are we Nigeria for that matter? Why should we? Now to let you know that the same Nigerians, all right, who will tell you that you should cut down costs, at the same time that no, that even we want to cut down costs, we should still be excellent in trying to put some aesthetics in place, because we are conscious of aesthetics. It's a country like Sierra Leone that you are the one that even use your sweeter to help them to get their independence has much more of this beautiful stuff. But to let you know that the cutting down of costs that we are talking about now, or to say maybe federal government should cut down, the cutting down is already going to be at work with respect to the Oronsaye report. I submit to you on that. If they follow it to the letter, it's going to on its own. That's why I said that it requires a degree of audacity to do it. It requires a political will.
Emmanuel, just before we go, let's talk about the efficiency and effectiveness of this particular project. The project has been lying, in dust for over 10 years. 10 years, over 10 years. The report has been lying. Now, in the span of 10, 12 years, things has changed. We had no COVID-19 10 years ago. So many things we never had 10 years ago. I don't think we had Ebola 10 years ago, did we? Things have changed. So why are we going back to a project that should be implemented 12 years ago? And they're bringing it now. Now, we have certain problems and its peculiarity that may not actually reflect that challenge, all curtailed. Now, the number of parastatals we had then and agencies we had then, as of now, we are more, probably times two, if not more. So how can we bring a report of over 10 years and now want to implement that, make it seem as if it's something beautiful, and we actually should just embrace?
This is one of the reasons why I respect the person of the president, because, and that's why we tell people that, and when they try to tell that he was not someone that came here by chance, right? It's something that he has prepared for, right? So I saw a source document of the working of certain committee that he already set up even prior to his winning, that have reviewed the whole report. So instead of him saying, oh, I want to set up a committee now to come and review some of those things, they when we are coming, the gist is that the 10 years ago period, and that's what I was also saying earlier, that as we go also, there will be some emerging issues that will be coming. As at 10 years ago, there was not something like climate change. There was no advocate for climate change. But now we have climate change issue now coming up. So that's why we must be dynamic. Also, the government must also be able to still give space for those must be flexible enough to permit some of those dynamic issues coming, to find way to stay. Now, now with the issue of the report that you said now, that's 10 years ago, that was I said earlier in the beginning that the challenge with every of those presidents is that they lacked the political will to do it. All right, it's not that maybe they could not do it. It's because that they don't even have the political will to do it, because they know very well that there are certain players, all right, in this field that you might likely you want to step on people's toes, and they will surely fight back. You must know also that the Jonathan regime even tried very well, all right, to a degree, but then what happened was that the security challenge was messed up for him, all right, and in his interview also he let you know some of the issues that even emerged that made it look like he was not really too good. To let you know that there are many players in government, so that because being the president does not mean that you are the only person that can fix the whole country. You will need an array of people, and you must also know that people also have vested interest. So as we're talking about the BDC, people of the CBN issue, there are people that have vested interest in that aspect. If you go to Ministry of Finance, so people, and we are humans, everybody trying to see what I can gain from the system. But then the implementation of this thing will require somebody who will not look at the faces of people, but who will look at the fact that is it going to benefit the populace? Is it going to benefit Nigerian people? Yes, then let's get it done. And that's the kind of leader that I think that Nigeria even needs.
Now, I want to believe, in as much as we are all positive, we have positive mindset, but we can't run away from reality. Ezekiel rightly stated, and I also believe you did agree to it, that there are going to be layoffs. Now, behind the scene, before we started the program, Hyan and Ezekiel were discussing, and he was saying he just prayed that this is going to go well. Especially, we had a lot of situations on ground, ranging from insecurity, the economic issue, and everything that has been on ground unsolved. Now, looking at the situation, most people will tell you that an idle hand is the devil's workshop. You are laying people off for a country that is battling insecurity, for a country that is battling food insecurity, for a country that is battling economic meltdown in so many parastatals, so many places, a country that is fighting against high inflation. How do you see all these things coming together for the good of the general masses? Fine, it might be fine with the rich people, the elites, but come on, the poor man that can't even feed, how does this really work for them? You are building infrastructure, yes, we need the money to do some things, but can the poor masses access this infrastructure even when they are being built? Can they use it? How are these things coming together to work for Nigeria as a nation? Because if you look at the population, the poor masses are more. So how is this going to benefit them?
All right, so let me just come to the fact that we must be very truthful to ourselves to know that there will always be feedbacks, like from the poor masses aspect of it, to let you know that people truly will go through a lot. But then you cannot find yourself in a situation where you know that there are ghost workers. Alright, the implication of you trying to push out the ghost workers, some people will try to tell you that you should not flush them out, because why? Because they will tell you also in the same manner that they will become jobless. Alright, but then do you want to fix the problem? You say yes. But then the ghost workers have to go. Maybe you have
so are you saying everybody that will be laid off are ghost workers? We've seen situations that even efficient workers, people that are present on ground in this our Nigeria, we've seen them that they have been flushed out. Some of them have been put on the hold of retrenchment and the rest like that. We've seen situations like that. Yeah, people that are always present at work, they are doing their work efficiently, but they still lay them off.
Yeah, but the difference is that, as I said earlier, that what the current administration is trying to look into, based on what I read from their, because I've not even started implementing, but what I read is that they will try as much as possible to look into some of these things. But I must also let you know that the media also is being, could be used also to push certain narratives. But what I said that I read up is that they would try as much as possible to see that the workers are not being laid off. They will work on that to see that people don't lose their job.
So are you advocating for them now?
I mean, for the workers now?
For the government, because they don't know if they are really stated it that they are going to do that, but you're saying it, so I want to know for fact that, do you have the fact that they are going to make a way for that?
I do not believe that you require laying off of people as it were.
To be honest, this same act was done by Tinubu while he was the Lagos State governor. He did lots of exactly this merging and all that. Yeah. And this actually led to the point, many believe led to the point where he actually lost his own polling unit during the election, because there were lots of civil servants who were laid off as at that time. time. And now we are having the same situation here. These are civil public servants.
But then
If they have to be, I mean, I'm not against, you know, the merger and all that. It's beautiful, it's wonderful. But if there have to be a certain step that has to be taken to really cut down cost of governance, we have seated senators and lawmakers that are awarded over 100 million, over 100 million to get vehicles outside, from outside the country, not even our fellow, you know, Nigerian made outside the country. They have allowances. If you want to really cut down governance, we have so many places from the political
from the top
to really cut down. I believe that amount will really do just enough and plenty for Nigerians.
Yes, I share in that sentiment also, that I'm also an advocate.
It's not really a sentiment; it's a fact, actually.
Okay. I share in that fact also that they should look into that aspect of the National Assembly, you know, trying to cut down their costs. Right? I quite agree with also that also. But what I'm trying to say is that in an attempt to say we want to fix a problem, then we say, okay, if people maybe people get the whatever they're out of job, then insecurity will increase, poverty is in the land. And what I'm trying to say that's why I said that this is one of the things that make certain people not be able to implement some things, because when people try to play that for them, they feel like maybe they just let it just be. All right, but that I say that there are certain decisive action that you will need to take as leader that you will not have to look into. But then, you know, when you pick the issue of Lagos State now, that he lost the election, but now today, the same Lagos today, all right, is not met with any other state. The same Lagos today. So let you know that certain people must make certain decisive decisions. It's just that they are not going to be the nice guys, as some people most likely want them to be.
Sorry to cut you. I want to understand one thing. I am building a nation.
Yes.
But the nation that I've built, the poor masses cannot breathe. Have I built that nation?
It's a progress. It's a progressive.
I want to understand. Now, he built Lagos, if everybody will ask. He did fine. The blueprints are there, everything.
Thank you. But you know very well that.
Now, that is what everybody will say.
Yes.
But how many poor person in Lagos can afford to even pay their own rent in that Lagos?
Now, that's what looking at it too. If you look at to say, okay, we want to talk about the poor people, everything.
In simple sense, he's saying, how can these poor masses actually afford those structures that
you are going to put in place?
They can afford it. Now, looking at the current issue on ground, what has Lagos State said? What are the policies that have been put in place by Lagos State government? So even to the artisans and even down to the downtrodden people. I'm not sure there's any government or state government in Nigeria that is more responsive, all right, to it. You know what happened in Anambra State? Right, over the week, I mean, yesterday or 2 days ago, as regards the collapse of that building, was there any responsive aspect to it to save lives in that place? I'm not sure. But then when you come to Lagos, it's a different ballgame. All right, to let you know, like I said, some of this infrastructure, all right, these things must be put in place. I'm not sure if someone is not doing anything about the electric cable, I'm not sure people likely talk about that. But then we cannot be talking about advancement, all right, and we're not talking about infrastructure. And at the same time, you want to do infrastructure, and I think this is one of the things that sold out for the PDP administration, because people were too focused on the fact that the poor, and those people did not even focus on infrastructure. Because people were like, no, why we will be building road when people are hungry? So they just focus on the hungry and leave the roads. But then at the long run, we are going to be set aback, all right, as a country when other people are advancing infrastructure. If we go to and see the healthcare of somewhere is better, there's an investment that goes to all the sectors, all right. But now, what I'm trying to say, with this respect of the administration, that when Tinubu did it when he was in Lagos State, the question is, fast forward to now, it was a reform that was necessary. But then, if you look at the unemployment rate, all right, the economy of Lagos State is maybe the 4th or the 5th largest economy in Africa. That's a state. But now, to let you know that some reforms will need to be made by certain people, because they have the audacity to fix the problem.
Now, you've not answered my question. My question is this: on paper,
yes,
the economy is good.
As at now.
Now, you said they are one of the largest, the best economy in Africa.
Yes.
Now, it's just a state.
Yes.
So now on paper, they are doing well.
Absolutely.
Now they are doing well on paper, but in reality, the poor people in Lagos. So because I want to believe, I'm a believer that if you build a nation, the poor masses in that country could afford whatever you are giving to them as an infrastructure.
Can afford.
No,
so now they cannot even afford it. But you applaud yourself that you have built a nation.
Okay,
you have built
I
a
think
state.
There are some issue with the regulatory aspect of prices of. Now, if you look at the issue now, dollar is dropping, but price of commodities are not dropping. Now, the question is to let you know that most of the inflation that we talk about as a country, I have been an advocate of it. I said that it is human-induced inflation, and that's because the days of Awolowo, they had a regulatory board, a price regulatory board, commodity board, right, that regulate prices of commodities, which we don't even have as at now. And if we don't put those things in place, people can jack up. Even as of yesterday, the Commissioner for Agriculture in Lagos State had issue with the people, the food hub that they created for 25% discount. And we see that people still use those things to even still exploit the masses. All right. Although that the government has said they are going to pay a particular amount of money to allow people to come in, all right, and procure some of these foodstuffs. But then the same humans like me, all right, still took advantage of their fellow people.
Very good. Then on the scale of preference of governance, as at this moment,
yes,
if you are going to scale from 1 to 10,
yes,
the Oronsaye, as of this moment, the report, is it supposed to be on the list, on the top for now?
Yes, it should be.
Why?
It should be because the decisive action are necessary, and that's why for me it's just like saying should he have removed the subsidy at the time he removed the subsidy. And as I said, you cannot talk to a man who came on day one to remove subsidy and think he will not do the.
It's beyond just removing subsidy. You remove subsidy, yes, it's fine, it's a very bold step, but what did you put in place to cushion the effect?
I said it before, and I said that while he was doing his own camp, he made it very clear. He did not promise Eldorado, and that's why I don't. Sanusi also said it clearly. All right, Okonjo-Iweala has said it clearly many times. All right, to let you know that the days where we should have saved up, we did not save up, and the person who is going to take the place of governance next, 2023, I think the days of Buhari, our budget for the year, I think we had 90% of the budget that was being used to service loan. We cannot. It's just like you are trying to say that you want to go into extinction as a country, but somebody said, but truly it will have to pain some of us. It has to be painful. It's going to be a painful decision, but that we must chart a course towards us going towards prosperity. It must be. It's going to be a painful journey for us, and that's why I said that in the short run and the midterm run, it's possible that we most likely feel the brunt.
Indeed, it's going to be a painful journey, but I believe, I guess, all sides actually tend to bear the brunt. Now, my question should be at this point: now we have had implementation of cutting down parastatals and agencies and layoffs all around for the public service holders.
I've not said layoff, because there's no layoff as going on already. So possibly, yes.
Possible layoffs. Yes. All right then. Should we expect more of this, or is this going to be the end of the merger and scrapping and all that? More of cutting down of governance and cost.
No, I think they have identified some of the things. They identified it at the coordinating. I think is it Azza Usman now, the one on the policy coordination aspect. I think she already gave a list of some of those agencies and parastatals.
Is it a work in progress, not just giving out lists? Look at all the shouts.
No, as I said,
have a press conference.
I said it earlier that this is government. It's not like a private company where you say and then it's done. That's why that the president had a meeting with the civil service, because the people, the politics and administration there's overlapping function. The fact that you sign a paper, the people that will move those papers to every office is not you again, are the civil service. All right, so that is, and if those people delay some of those things, it might likely even give you a problem. So, but now that we have announced it, that's why I said that National Assembly will also have to play their role, the judiciary will play their role, every relevant key agencies, or even the agencies concerned also will begin to also play their roles to see that all those things come out. And that's why we are talking about 12 weeks. I'm not sure.
Okay, now mostly I believe that most things like this, especially report like this that are supposed to be put into implementation, they do have both sides. So in as much as you've said a lot of good things about it, some analysts out there still believe there are a lot of bottlenecks and loopholes. So on your own part, do you see any loophole on this report as at this moment?
Yeah, there will surely be loopholes. There's no perfect report anywhere. There's no, because when you scrutinize it, they're going to give it to some experts. They most likely also have their critique. Even the best research works, all right, still have people who will still critique the work, all right, and say that the paper should have done this. Even your best research work, if you give it to somebody else again, they will say. So those things are expected, all right, from the report. But then it is the spirit of the report that I think we need to work with, all right, which is the fact that and as I said, that they might likely not even implement everything hook, line, and sinker. They might likely need to review some and maybe even wait before they implement some of them, right? To see. So I put it at the trust of the presidency to decide on some of those things. But then having highlighted
in as much as you're putting in the trust of the presidency, I'm very sure you are trying to be diplomatic here. I want to know, have you seen any loophole on your own account? Have you seen any so far?
Any loopholes? I've not seen any loophole based on what was itemized that they want to do. I'm in support of
Everything.
the report. Yeah, I'm in support of it. But eventually, maybe those people who say there's an issue with it might likely have something that is quite different. That maybe they see something different that I'm not seeing. But as an analyst that I am, I have looked at it, and I think it's the best. We are already on the right path, and I think it's even it's something that we should even applaud. Right, that we should. But just that my concern also will see that the policy coordinator, the special advisor, the special assistant on policy, should see that it is implemented across board, that everybody drive, that he works with every relevant people to drive the implementation process, so that we could, in a short space of time, also see the benefit of it.
All right. I know we are really out of time, but just in a minute. Nigerians, we have a lot of beliefs and a lot of things. When we look at the whole thing, we feel like this is not good, this is good. We have a lot of, taking sides on it. So you as an analyst that you've looked into it, what are your last words that you can give to Nigerians as what they need to do as we wait for the change that we envisage?
My words would be to people to be quite positive, all right. In the face of the storm, we must be positive, because there's light surely at the end of the tunnel. I know many people might likely be scared of, are we even sure there will be light at the end? But I can assure you that there's surely light at the end of the tunnel. We must be positive, and that we're already on track, all right, towards a prosperous Nigeria, and I believe that we'll surely get there.
Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, viewers, I'm very sure you've heard it all from our analyst in the house, talking about what we need to do. We should remain positive. We should never lose hope, because one of our analysts usually say, what you need to do, whatever situation you meet yourself, never lose hope. Nigeria is moving on the right track. Let's believe that. Let's believe the presidency and everybody working together are trying their best to make Nigeria the great nation that we all believe we are going to be. And from us here, we'll be saying goodbye on Daybreak Africa. I remain Michael Obagiri.
The truth is, it's really beautiful to know this present administration are really working very, very hard. When it comes to the formation, I really would give that to them and its implementation. So I guess we just have to refresh our hope and give our trust in God through men, of course. You have a wonderful day. Ahead, I'll be Ezekiel, Ogar.